I bought the camera because it didn't belong anywhere anymore. It was sitting alone on a table at the back of a flea market, half covered by a cloth that looked older than the rest of the stalls combined. No price tag, no brand name, just a heavy black metal body with scratches that didn't look accidental. When I picked it up, the seller didn't smile. He didn't explain how it worked. He didn't tell me where it came from. He only said one thing: it doesn't take pictures. Then after a pause, it remembers. I laughed, because that's what you do when something sounds like a bad joke. I paid him and left. That night, I loaded the film. It was strange how easily the camera accepted it. No resistance, no hesitation. The mechanism moved like it had been waiting. I tested it the way anyone would. A photo of my desk, a photo of the window, a photo of the empty street outside my apartment. The shutter sounded deeper than it should have. Not loud, heavy, final. I didn't feel scared yet, just curious. I developed the film the next morning. The first 2 photos were normal. The third one wasn't. The street outside my apartment was there, same angle, same lighting. But someone was standing in the frame. A man, not blurred, not transparent, not distorted, just present. He was standing under the streetlight, looking directly into the lens. I checked outside. The street was empty. I checked the timestamp burned into the photo's edge. It was dated 16 years earlier. I told myself there was an explanation. Old film, double exposure, a trick of chemistry. But curiosity is quieter than fear, and much harder to ignore. So I took the camera with me that afternoon. I photographed places, not people. An empty park bench, a pedestrian tunnel, a bus stop no one used anymore. When I developed that role, my hands started shaking. Every photo showed someone who hadn't been there. Not doing anything violent, not dying, just standing, waiting. I researched the locations. At the park bench, a man had collapsed one winter night. No memorial, no plaque. At the tunnel, a woman had been reported missing after an argument. Case closed, no body. At the bus stop, a hit and run that no one was charged for. All forgotten, all quiet. That's when I realized something important. The camera didn't show the moment of death. It showed the moment before, the last ordinary second, the moment no one remembers. I started choosing locations deliberately, places where something might have happened, but no one talked about anymore. An abandoned cinema, a closed factory, a bridge with no flowers tied to its railings. Every time, the camera delivered the same result. A person in the frame, always looking slightly past the lens, always aware of something I couldn't see. I noticed something else too. The camera never showed famous tragedies, no headlines, no public memorials, only the quiet ones, the ones no one witnessed. I didn't sleep much after that. The photos stayed spread across my table like evidence I wasn't meant to understand. Then the camera changed. It started advancing film on its own. I'd leave it on the desk, untouched, and come back to find the counter had moved forward. I developed the new role. This time the photos were empty again. No people, just places. But the reflections were wrong. In a shop window, I could see someone standing behind the camera. In a puddle, a shape that didn't match my body. In a mirror at the end of a hallway, a figure holding the camera, taller than me. I checked the dates. The timestamps were in the future. I tried to stop. I locked the camera away. It didn't matter. Every place I went started feeling framed, like like I was standing inside a photograph that hadn't been taken yet. I began noticing patterns in the old photos. Every person the camera showed had one thing in common. They were not alone when it happened. Someone else had been there. Someone who saw but didn't act. Someone who noticed but didn't intervene. Someone who witnessed. That's when the final roll appeared, already loaded, already advanced. I developed it with shaking hands. Every photo was of a place I recognized. My street, my hallway, my room. The final image showed my chair. Someone was sitting in it, not facing the camera, facing me. I understood the truth too late. The camera doesn't remember places. It remembers attention. It records the moment someone becomes a witness, the moment responsibility begins, the moment silence becomes a choice. Every tragedy it showed existed because someone saw and turned away. That's why it stopped needing film. That's why it stopped needing hands. Because once something is witnessed, it doesn't need to be captured anymore. If you're listening to this story now, you've already done it. You noticed, you stayed, you watched, and that's all the camera ever needed. The first story was about a place that remembered the past. This one is about something that learned to pretend. In some cultures, there are stories of beings that don't break in. They are invited. They study voices. They copy footsteps. And they wait until a house feels familiar enough to enter. Rohan didn't believe in any of that, until one night, someone walked into his house, sounding exactly like someone he trusted. What follows isn't a legend. It's the moment Rohan realized the thing inside his home wasn't human and had never been invited. This is the second story of the night. The skinwalker in Rohan's house.
Rohan lived alone, in a secluded house buried deep in the mountains near Petropolis. The forest surrounded the property from every side, thick, ancient, and silent after dark. It was the kind of place people escaped to when they wanted to disappear for a while. And most of the time, Rohan liked it that way. His only companion was Atlas, a 4-year-old golden retriever. Big, gentle, loyal, the kind of dog that trusted the world without hesitation, the kind of dog that never ran from anything until the storm. On a Tuesday night, heavy rain hammered the roof, thunder shaking the hills as the power went out. Rohan stood on the porch watching the darkness, Atlas lying quietly at his feet. Then the dog lifted his head. His ears stiffened. His body went rigid. Atlas stared into the tree line, where the forest swallowed all light. A low growl rose from his chest. Not playful, not curious. Fear. Before Rohan could speak, Atlas jumped the railing and ran straight into the trees. Rohan chased him into the rain, calling his name until his voice broke. But the storm erased everything. No tracks, no sound, nothing. He left the door unlocked that night, food and water waiting, and sat awake in the dark. At 3 a.m, claws scraped against wood. Atlas was back. He stood in the kitchen over his water bowl, drinking without moving, his snout submerged, still, silent. Relief turned to unease when Rohan got closer. The smell was wrong, not wet fur, but damp earth, rot, something sweet and decaying. Atlas lifted his head. His eyes were cloudy, filmed over, unblinking. He stared for too long. When Rohan spoke, the dog obeyed, but not naturally. Each movement came in pieces, stiff, mechanical. That night, Atlas lay awake, stretched flat, staring at the wall. The next day, Rohan tried to bathe him. The smell didn't fade. The body was cold, and the skin moved. It slid under his hands, loose, as if it didn't belong to what was wearing it. When offered food, Atlas swallowed it whole, no chewing, just a violent contraction of the throat, all day. The dog watched, only when he thought Rohan wasn't looking. That night, Rohan called a veterinarian friend who told him to isolate the dog until morning, concerned, careful. When Rohan went to the guest room, he found Atlas standing upright, not leaning, not jumping, standing, locked hind legs, torso vertical, facing the mirror, watching himself. One paw lifted, the toes separated, stretching, grasping. Then came the sound, a whisper, stitched together from stolen words. Rohan stepped back. The floor creaked. Atlas's head turned too far, skin twisting around the neck, and he smiled. Not a dog's smile. A mouth pulled too wide, tearing at the edges, opening into darkness. Rohan ran. He barricaded himself in his bedroom as heavy footsteps crossed the hall. 2 legs, not 4. The doorknob rattled, turning left, then right, clumsily. A voice followed, his own phrases, broken, rearranged. Then the whine, perfect, convincing, until it became laughter. The impacts shook the door, harder than any dog should manage. Then, silence. At dawn. Rohan watched from the window as the thing left the house, walking upright, knees bending the wrong way. It stopped on the lawn, looked up, and waved, later, in the forest. Rohan found what was left behind, not a body, but what remained after something wore it. He never returned to that house. Months later, in the city, alone in an elevator, the doors opened on an empty floor. From the shadows came the sound of footsteps. 2 of them. A tall figure stood there, shaped like a man, standing wrong, bare feet, claws clicking against tile. As the doors closed, a familiar voice whispered a phrase once spoken in kindness, now barricaded in his apartment. Rohan hears scratching outside his door, not low, not like an animal, high, at eye level. Because whatever learned to walk upright did so for a reason. And skin with hands opens more doors than fur ever could. You'd think that was where it ended. That whatever took the dog, whatever learned to wear skin, stayed in the woods. But the truth is, it didn't. Because this next story isn't about something that pretends to be human. It's about something that makes people forget they ever were.
Dear Marcus, this is the last thing I will ever send you. I don't even know if you'll remember who I am by the time you read this. And honestly, I hope you don't. Forgetting might be the kindest thing that can happen to you now. For me, though, for everything that's been taken, I need to write this down. I need to tell you a story you were part of, and a story that, according to the world, never happened at all. I need to tell you how I vanished. I don't know when it truly began. That's what terrifies me most. There's no clear starting point, no first warning sign, no moment I can point to and say, that's when it started. For all I know, pieces of my life had already been taken long before I noticed anything was wrong. I don't know how much it's consumed. I don't know how long it's been feeding. 4 nights ago is just the first time I caught it in the act. Less than a week ago, my life was full. So full it almost hurts to remember. I had just landed my first real IT job after college. Lena and I finally moved out of our cramped, miserable 1-bedroom apartment into a proper house in Brookhaven. Our son, Oliver, had just turned 1 and finally had a room of his own. You and I had to share a bedroom until we were 16. Remember that? Lena was finally able to quit her retail job and stay home with Oliver, something she'd dreamed about for years. She deserved it more than anyone after carrying us through my degree. You helped us move that weekend. You, Sarah, and the kids. I remember sitting under the patio in the backyard, exhausted, talking about how you'd all come over in the fall to grill and watch football. Everything felt settled, safe, promising. That world doesn't exist anymore. It was late Tuesday night, just after 9. Lena had taken Oliver into our bedroom, beginning the nightly ritual of rocking him to sleep. I planned to drive back to the old apartment and grab the last few boxes. Most of our things were already stacked in the living room, but there were still 2 carloads left. I remember staring at the boxes earlier that day, wondering how all of it ever fit in that tiny apartment. I slipped out quietly through the garage, careful not to make a sound. Oliver was a light sleeper, and I didn't want to make Lena's night any harder than it already was. I started the car and drove off. Halfway down the street, it hit me. The keys. I turned around immediately, annoyed but relieved I hadn't gone far. The drive back to the apartment was 20 minutes, and I'd already made that mistake once during the move. I opened the garage door carefully and stepped into the kitchen. The house was dark, lit only by my headlights spilling across the floor. I looked toward the key hook beside the pantry. It was empty. The keys were gone. I sighed, irritated. I knew I'd left them there the night before in case Lena needed them. We only had one set because Oliver loved playing with keys. No matter how many toy ones we gave him, he always wanted the real thing. I searched quietly. Drawers, counters, cabinets, moving slowly, painfully aware of every creak. Living in that old apartment had trained me to fear noise. Even breathing too loudly used to wake the baby. Nothing. I decided to wait until Oliver was asleep and ask Lena. I turned to head back out and shut the car off when my foot caught on a stack of boxes. I fell hard. Plates shattered, metal clanged. The crash echoed through the house like an explosion. I lay there, heart pounding, thinking only one thing. "Please don't wake up," Oliver cried. The dog started barking. Lights flicked on. Lena came rushing out, concern on her face turning to frustration when she saw the broken dishes. I told her I was fine. I asked about the keys. She hadn't seen them either. She thought maybe I'd moved them. I apologized, kissed her and Oliver, left. I searched the car half-heartedly. I knew they weren't there. They weren't. Lena texted me on the way out. "If you can't find them, try the guard at the apartment. His name's Ron. He let me in once when you had the keys. It was worth trying." When I reached the old complex, the guard barely noticed me. He was older, half asleep, watching a horror movie on his phone. I had to knock several times to wake him. I explained everything politely. He checked the system, then my ID, then the screen again. He told me my name wasn't listed, told me the apartment was vacant, told me no one had lived there in a long time. I thought it was a mistake. I begged, explained we'd just moved. He didn't budge. I went home defeated. That should have been the end of it. It wasn't. A few hours later, barking woke us again. Lena buried her head in a pillow and groaned. I told her I'd handle it. The dog was at the fence, snarling into the trees. The air felt wrong. Cold. Sharply cold. I bent down to grab him, and he bit me. Hard. He ran back toward the house, whimpering. I looked over the fence and saw it. A tennis ball. old, tangled in vines. I laughed, let the dog inside, cleaned my hand, went back to bed. The next morning, the dog was gone, not missing, erased. His bed, his food, his toys, every photo, every video, every memory anyone else had of him, gone. People stopped remembering him. Then, they stopped remembering Oliver, then Lena. By the time I realized what was happening, it was already too late. Something was feeding on my life, not killing, consuming. Removing pieces so cleanly the world adjusted around the absence. And now, Marcus, I'm writing this because stories are the only thing it hasn't learned how to erase yet. If you write this down, if you remember it as fiction, then somewhere I still exist. If not, then I was never here at all.